My wife cheated on me with my boss. Introduction to her is a fragile thing. Once it's broken, nothing is ever the same again. I used to believe my life was perfect. A stable job, a beautiful wife, and dreams of building a future together. But all it took was one late-night phone call to uncover a betrayal so devastating that it destroyed everything I thought I knew. This is the story of how my wife cheated on me with my own boss. I had been working at Harper & Finch Consulting for nearly 7 years. The hours were long, the pressure was intense, but I stayed loyal because the salary helped me and my wife, Vanessa, live comfortably. We rented a nice apartment downtown, took vacations every summer, and talked constantly about buying our first home. Vanessa and I had been married for 4 years. She was beautiful, confident, and charming in a way that drew people toward her naturally. Whenever we went out together, people stared at her. I used to feel proud when that happened. Now, I realize I should have paid more attention to who was staring back. My boss, Richard Lawson, was the CEO of the company. He was one of those men who always looked polished. Expensive suits, expensive watches, and a smile that could convince people to do almost anything. Everyone admired him, including my wife. At first, I thought nothing of it. The first time they met was at our company Christmas party. Vanessa wore a black dress that night, and when Richard introduced himself to her, I noticed his eyes lingered a little too long, but I brushed it off. "Your wife is stunning," he told me with a grin. I laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, I got lucky." Vanessa smiled at him in a way I didn't notice back then, but replay in my mind now constantly. Over the following months, Richard started taking more interest in my personal life. He asked about Vanessa often. "How's the wife? Still painting? You should bring her to the next event." I thought he was just being friendly. Looking back, I was a complete idiot. One Friday evening, the company hosted a networking dinner at a luxury hotel. Employees were encouraged to bring their partners. Vanessa spent nearly 2 hours getting ready. I remember joking that she looked too good for a boring work dinner. "If your coworkers see me looking average, you'll get embarrassed," she teased. At the event, Richard barely left her side. He laughed at every joke she made, offered her drinks before I even had the chance. At one point, I turned around and saw him placing his hand gently on her lower back while guiding her through the crowd. Something about that moment made my stomach twist. Still, I ignored it. I trusted both of them. A few weeks later, Vanessa started acting differently. She became more protective of her phone, turning the screen away whenever messages appeared. She also began dressing up more often, even on days she claimed she was just meeting friends. One night, I woke up around a.m. and noticed she wasn't beside me. I walked into the living room and found her whispering on the phone. The second she saw me, she hung up. "Who was that?" I asked. "My sister," she answered quickly. "At 2 in the morning? She's going through stuff." I wanted to believe her, so I did. But the doubt started growing inside me like poison. At work, Richard began treating me strangely too. Sometimes he was overly nice, complimenting my performance and promising promotions. Other times, he'd snap at me for small mistakes. It felt personal. One afternoon, I entered his office without knocking because he had called me in earlier. The moment I opened the door, he immediately minimized something on his laptop. His face looked tense. "You ever hear of knocking?" he barked. "Sorry," I muttered. For the first time, I noticed a framed photo on his desk that I had never seen before. It wasn't family. It was a picture from the Christmas party. Vanessa was in it. Not me. Just her. That night, my mind wouldn't stop racing. I tried convincing myself it was harmless, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. Then came the business trip. Richard announced that he needed me to travel with him for a 2-day conference in Manchester. Vanessa acted strangely when I told her. "Oh, you're really going?" she asked. "Yeah." "Why?" "Oh, reason." The morning of the trip, I realized I had forgotten an important folder at home. Richard had already left for the airport, so I drove back to the apartment quickly to grab it. When I opened the door, I heard laughter coming from the bedroom. A man's laughter. My heart nearly stopped. I walked slowly down the hallway, feeling like the floor beneath me was disappearing. Then I heard Richard's voice. "I missed you." I froze. For a second, I genuinely thought I was hallucinating. Then Vanessa laughed softly and said, "He almost suspected something last night." My blood turned cold. I pushed the bedroom door open, and there they were, half-dressed. Together, my wife screamed when she saw me. Richard jumped off the bed immediately. For a moment, nobody spoke. I just stood there staring at them while my entire world collapsed. "Daniel, wait," Vanessa began. "Don't," I whispered. Richard stepped forward. "Let's calm down and talk like adults," I snapped. "Talk?" I shouted. "You're sleeping with my wife." Vanessa started crying, but I couldn't even look at her anymore. "How long?" I demanded. Neither answered. "How long?" Vanessa finally whispered. 8 months. 8 months. Almost a year of lies. Almost a year of kisses goodbye before work, while she secretly slept with my boss behind my back. I felt sick. Richard tried to act reasonable, which somehow made everything worse. "These things happen," he said calmly. "People develop feelings." I wanted to punch him so badly, but honestly, I was too broken to even move. Vanessa reached for me. "I didn't mean for this to happen." I laughed bitterly. "You didn't mean for 8 months to happen?" She started sobbing harder. I grabbed the folder I came for and walked out without another word. I drove aimlessly for hours that day. I ignored every call and text from Vanessa. Eventually, parked near a river and just sat there staring into the water. The humiliation hit harder than the heartbreak. My boss, the man I worked for every single day, everyone at the office probably knew before I did. The next morning, I received an email from HR asking me to come in for a meeting immediately. When I arrived, Richard was already there alongside the HR representatives. That's when I learned how cruel people can truly be. Richard claimed I had become emotionally unstable and aggressive. He said my behavior could negatively impact the workplace. They fired me. Just like that. 7 years of loyalty gone in a 20-minute meeting. I couldn't believe it. The affair wasn't enough. He also wanted to destroy my career. I walked out of the building feeling numb. Over the next few weeks, my life completely unraveled. Vanessa begged me to forgive her at first. She sent long texts claiming she still loved me and that Richard had manipulated her. But then, I found out she had moved into Richard's penthouse less than 2 weeks after I left. That destroyed the last piece of love I still had for her. The divorce process was brutal. Vanessa tried taking half of everything despite being the one who cheated. Luckily, we didn't own much yet, but losing the apartment and starting over financially was humiliating. For months, I barely slept. I replayed every memory in my head, searching for the exact moment my marriage died. Was it the Christmas party? The late-night phone calls? The networking dinner? Eventually, anger replaced sadness. I started applying for jobs again, determined to rebuild my life, no matter how broken I felt. After dozens of rejections, a smaller consulting firm finally hired me. The salary wasn't amazing, but the environment was healthier. For the first time in months, I could breathe again. Then something unexpected happened. About 6 months later, I got a message from an old coworker. "Did you hear what happened to Richard?" Apparently, someone in the company had discovered Richard was involved in multiple inappropriate relationships with employees and spouses connected to staff members. An internal investigation began after one of those relationships turned into a harassment lawsuit. The board forced him to resign. His reputation collapsed almost overnight. And Vanessa? She left him shortly after. According to my former coworker, Richard had already moved on to another woman. I wish I could say hearing that made me happy, but honestly, all I felt was emptiness. One evening, Vanessa showed up outside my apartment unexpectedly. She looked different, tired, older somehow. "I made the biggest mistake of my life," she said quietly. I stared at her for a long moment. There was a time when hearing those words would have meant everything to me. But not anymore. "You didn't just cheat on me," I told her. "You destroyed me." Tears rolled down her face. "I know." I shook my head slowly. "No, I don't think you do." Then I closed the door. That was the last time I ever saw her. It's been 3 years since everything happened. Today, my life looks completely different. I have a better job, better friends, and most importantly, peace. The betrayal still hurts sometimes, but it no longer controls me. What I learned from all this is simple. The people who betray you often think they're destroying your future, but sometimes they're only removing themselves from it. And honestly, that ends up being the greatest gift of all. Thank you for listening to this story on cheating stories. If this story shocked you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more dramatic cheating stories every week. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload, and remember, sometimes the people closest to you hide the darkest secrets.